been putting off making this video for 5 years, 10 years, I don't know. Hopefully this is the first of many, and I'm just gonna try to do one take and get it all out there. No second guessing, no more excuses, just go for it. So I like ideas. I have a lot of ideas. This is probably my favorite idea. I don't want to name it because I still haven't thought of a really good name for it. But it's a kind of ground up government, a kind of robotic based technology driven socialism that combines the best parts of, a utilitarian socialism with the realities of capitalism. So there's currently an idea out there that's pretty popular, universal basic income. A lot of people love it. Some people have reservations, but it's an idea that's definitely gaining traction. The reason behind this idea is essentially another idea that as technology grows and proliferates throughout our life, as automation comes online, and as robots, take more and more jobs, that while there's going to be a lot of people that fall through the cracks, and while there are always have been winners and losers, there's a fear that this time it's going to be mostly losers and some huge winners, but not very many of them. You and I would probably be big losers in this. So universal basic income is this idea. Maybe not everybody needs to work. Maybe we just give everybody $1,000 a month, and then, no questions asked. And if they lose their job, if they get replaced by a robot, they're not going to end up starving on the street. I think that the problem that this is trying to address is a very valid, very real problem. If you just look at driverless cars and what that would do to the trucking industry, it's at some 3 million truckers are going to lose their jobs very quickly, just in America, very quickly. And those individuals are probably not going to all suddenly retool themselves in coding boot camps and suddenly transition into a economically ideal new job role. There's probably going to be a lot more painful, a lot more depression, a lot more drug abuse, a lot more suicides. Not ideal. So, and that's just one example with one industry. The reality will likely be much more widespread. So, it's a very important problem and something that needs to be solved for. But I also have reservations about the idea. To say we have this very complex problem, and the answer is we're just going to give everybody $1,000 every month, right? I mean, $2,000 every month, or what? Some number. This is the economic wishy-washy horseshit. They're waving a wand. We're just going to print money, and that's going to solve all the problems. Yeah, right. I don't buy it. I think that the solution has to. I want to see the solution described in physical terms, in terms of materials and resources, assets and managements, right? It needs to physically exist, right? So what I propose is some I think the solution looks like robots or factories that build robots that fulfill the needs of people. So at the base level, based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, water, shelter. So the solution, the base level, looks like we need to find a way, the designs and the software for cheap robots that can grow food, that can grow all the food, the vegetarian diet, right? Grown by robots, publicly owned robots. Maybe not publicly owned robots, but once we figure out how do we build these cheap robots, then we can decide, does the public own these robots? Are these robots something that I want to invest in? Are these robots part of a greenhouse in my backyard that's part of a house? And so now part of the American dream is a house with a yard, with a greenhouse, with robots that grows all your food so you can really be sustainable and off the grid. So food. Water, it's a little bit simpler, but essentially we need to find a way to automate water treatment, production, and filtration as much as possible, cheaply and cost effectively. To this effect, Dean Kamen, the guy who invented the Segway, not the guy who bought the Segway company and rode himself off a cliff, but the actual inventor of the technology, also has another invention he calls the Slingshot, and it's a water filter that runs on a little bit of electricity and a heat exchanger, and it boils the water and insulates the heat inside. So once you get the water boiling, then it can continue to boil more and more water at a very low energy level. It's much less energy intensive than just boiling water. And my understanding of the pricing of this machine is that for $10,000, he can sell a machine that can filter enough water for 100 people. I don't know how long the machine lasts, but I mean, even for 1 year, that's $100 per person for water for a year. And it's probably going to last, I would imagine, on closer to 10 years, right? Maybe more, hopefully. So it's one option, but automate water filtration, food, water, shelter. So shelters, the last one. I think this may look something like tiny homes, like factory fabricated tiny homes, or something of the sort. Maybe this solution requires governments to relax building codes for cheap housing, to allow less conventional, but still tried true functional tiny homes, yurts, and these types of shelters to be made available for the people who struggle with shelters, right? So, bottom level food, water, shelter. So I think instead of a system where the government just gives everybody money, $10,000, instead we want a government or maybe business entities, but we want a system where our needs are provided for. Not our wants, our needs. If you want an iPhone, get a job. If you want a steak dinner, get a job, right? This is where capitalism comes in. I think there's plenty of incentive for people to work, for people to continue working, innovating, investing, entrepreneurship. All that still exists. It's the best way to do this. But no one deserves to go without food, water, and shelter. And the solution does not look like here's some money, does not look like here's some food stamps so that you can buy some ice cream at the local 7-Eleven in your otherwise food desert neighborhood, right? Robots growing a vegetarian diet for you, right? This is on the back end. If the people who were on food stamps instead had access to balanced robot grown food, water, shelter, vegetarian diets, I cannot imagine how our health costs would not come down dramatically, right? Because everything's connected, right? Our health costs are connected to our diets, right? So trash in, trash out, right? So we need to solve for needs, let people work for wants, and the basic needs are food, water, shelter. Once we have that, the next level is education, healthcare, and security. But that is for a future where food, water, and shelter is provided for. All right. I don't think this is obviously the fully fleshed out version. It's nowhere near the final product. This is a rough draft. But if you have constructive criticism, if you see holes in the idea, if you'd like to get involved, please reach out. Comment section. This is the first video. Be very surprised if there's, if this gets seen by more than 25 people. So I'll do the best I can to respond to each and every one of you. All right. For now, good day, and see you next time.